My Childhood Home, posted by OK Lord Jesus. Hello, my name is Jasmine, and when I was little, I mean young, the home we lived in had some strange events take place. I must have only been, age 3 to 9, somewhere around that age range, until we moved. Where to start? Rather than it all happening in one major event, it was a series of them. Of course, I myself don't remember all of these experiences, so I have the assistance from my grandmother, who frequently visited, and then my father. I'll start from the least horrifying, which was probably when my grandmother and I heard the back door to the house open, close, and then we heard the thud of footsteps going across the kitchen floor. My dad had a specific sound to his walk, at least to me, and those who knew him well. Instantly, I heard it, and yelled something along the lines of, "Daddy's home," to my grandma, who was right next to me. She had heard it too, and had guessed the same. We walked down the long hallway and approached the kitchen. We didn't need to open a door, as there had not been one, and you could clearly see that no one was in the room. The thing that made it so strange was I know my dad's walk, and my grandma and I could have sworn it was him. But alas, nothing. The second occurrence, not based in timeline order, happened right outside my bedroom door. There had been a carnival in a nearby town, and we had been there the entirety of the day, and nobody had been home. We had a great time until we got home. In that house there had been roof space, and right above the bedroom door was where the door to gain access was. My dad, although an air conditioner mechanic, had no purpose to be up there that afternoon. But nonetheless, when we arrived home, the manhole cover, or trapdoor, leading to the roof space was wide open. It just so happened that I'd been the one to notice. Of course, with me being so young, if he told me the truth, I'd have gone to heaven, hell, and back again. So, I got told a simple yet believable lie from my father. I'd been up there earlier, darling. One of the scarier events to happen was my dad constantly, and I mean constantly, coming into my bedroom asking me, "Did you just call out for me?" Or, "What is it, darling?" Of course, I hadn't called out at him at all. He swore, however, that he'd heard someone or possibly something calling out loud and clear for their father. But it hadn't been me. On many occasions in the night, well after my bedtime, he could hear what he thought was me giggling, but only to find me fast asleep. This happened over a number of years. The thing is though, similar to me mistaking his steps, he'd mistaken my voice. For what? We've never been sure. My dad had, although nowadays he probably regrets it, performed a fair number of seances in the house, and they had had consequences. I'm sure you're familiar with the idea of sleep paralysis. I know sleep paralysis can't be taken as 100% proof, but this has only happened once, and the same night one of the seances took place. The idea of being glued to the bed, unable to move, speak, hardly even breathe, only being able to watch some kind of entity looming over you. At least for the majority of people, but everyone experiences it differently. My dad had never suffered from sleep paralysis until this point, and he's never had it again either. But the one time he did, he said, it's still such a vivid and terrifying image clear in his head. He said the closest thing he could think to describe it was the screen painting. But it wasn't just standing there, it was slowly approaching him at first, until he snapped out of it and went back to sleep. But soon enough, it happened again, this time leaning right over him. Once again, he snapped out of it. Then, as they say, things always happen in threes, and in this case, it was no different. It happened again, this time a pressure on his body. Finally, he snapped out of it for the final time. Although, he was too afraid to go back to sleep now. Instead, he went and turned on the 2 lamps he had in his room and took out his book of Psalms and began reading it around the house for Protection, of course. After that, he stopped all the seances, but I can't guarantee it ever went away, or if it was even the seances that caused it, as prior to the event, and still continued after, I would occasionally wake up with bruising to my legs, although, thankfully, it was never too serious. Was a decently sized bull mastiff ex-Ridgeback stood up out of nowhere in the middle of the night when my dad was half asleep on the sofa. He began growling at the doorway, presumably where one of the entities in the household stood. He would not go any closer than what he already was and simply stared and growled. That of course woke my dad, who calmed him down and began looking around the house. The dog was not impressed and didn't want to leave his current position, no matter what encouragement my dad gave him. We aren't really sure who or what was there, however, but I myself have a theory, although it's only a wild guess. I believe it could have been a daughter and her possibly single and abusive father. It would explain why I thought the footsteps were my dad's and why the voices sounded so much like mine, because maybe they were imitating us. My dad was single, although never abusive towards me. It would also explain the bruises on my legs that I would occasionally find. If I'm supposed to be so similar to this spirit girl, it would make sense for me to be mistaken for her by the father. I mean, my own dad was so adamant that he had been giggling and me calling out for a dad. What if it hadn't?
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.